when you talk about rest and recovery, your between sets matter so much. Welcome to season 3 of the Fresh and Fired Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Marshall, here with my co-host, the wild online fitness and nutrition coach, Haley Pindle. We are inspiring each other to excellence in health, fitness, and business. And we're so glad you're here today. Let's get fired up.
Heck yeah, let's get fired up.
Yeah, fired up.
Always say that.
How many times do we need to say it so that by the time you leave, you are so fired up? I know, because we are just pumped about life. We are high on life.
Yeah.
And we also get super pumped about gains, like muscle gains specifically.
Yeah.
And so today we want to talk about optimal muscle gain. And Haley, you have just been diving into this with several of your clients. And I want you, let's just start off with some general information about optimal muscle gain. We want to get into training to failure versus reps in reserve. And if you are hearing these terms for the first time, you're going to be like, at the start of this episode, you're going to be like, well, what the heck are you talking about? And by the end, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I know where it's at.
You're going to be seasoned. A seasoned vet in the gym, and all of your gym anxiety is going to go away because you're going to have all of these definitions and jargon.
So that you can just enjoy the process of being in the gym.
Exactly. So just to kind of piggyback on the definitions that you just spat at us.
Yeah, we're indoctrinating you to become gym rat nerds like us.
Being a nerd is so fun. I love geeking out at this stuff. So to piggyback on the geeking out part. So when you train to failure, and what that means in the gym, specifically weightlifting, that means that you are going to the point where you're breaking form, you're breaking good form, and you're going to the point where your muscles literally cannot lift any more weight. So that is a very taxing way to train, and your body does need a lot of recovery if you do train that way. However, there are benefits and pros and cons. But just to get into reps in reserve, what that means is you are stopping at about 2 reps before your failing point. So before you're breaking form, you're breaking good form, you're stopping at 2 reps before that. And what that is it's just so much better for your recovery as well. And that also means that you can train with more volume. So when you do train to failure, your central nervous system does get really taxed because all of the muscles are getting recruited to lift that last little bit of weight, right? But when you do train with reps in reserve, you do yield just as good results in terms of muscle growth and strength gain, but you're not taxing your body to the point where recovery is impeded. There's less risk of injury and burnout as well. So I think burnout is probably the biggest thing that I see. If, you're constantly training to failure in every single workout, your body's just going to give in and you're going to get injuries. Your immune system will be deregulated. So there's a host of things that happen. However, I do love training to failure because you feel like a bad bee. It's really freaking fun to see where your limit is. And honestly, I tell my clients to at least try it sometimes just to see where that limit is, because how are you supposed to know where to stop with reps in reserve? Like, how are you supposed to know if you're 2 reps in reserve, 1 reps in reserve, if you don't know where your failing point is, right? So there's pros and cons to both, and I love both of them, but different seasons of life.
Yeah. And cycling through. So a few things that came to mind as you were speaking. So I'm going to use some examples of things that have worked really well for me in the gym. And for reference, if you're new to this podcast, I am a 37-year-old mom of 4 kids, previous athlete, but I really had to get my body back in shape after having babies. So I wouldn't say I was going right from high level athlete, world level athlete to how I'm training now. There was definitely a journey of a decade in between there where you're not sleeping with newborns and all that sort of stuff. So I find my body and my recovery, I train very differently now than I used to before I had kids and when I was training for world level gymnastics. So at current, something that's been working really well for me is I go through these 5-3-1 cycles. So I will do 5x5 reps of weight, and I will do them at percentages. So I will do 5 reps, I will do 3 sets. Sorry, I said 5 by 5. I usually do 5 by 3. What happens is I will do 65%, and then I will do a set at 75%. Then I will do a set at 85%. Sorry, I said that wrong. I do 60%, 70%, 80%. Okay. Then the following week, I will do 3 reps of whatever I'm doing for 3 sets, and I will do 65, 75, 85. Then I will go to, when I'm going to failure, I will bump that up to whatever we're at now, 70, 80, 90, or sorry, 75, 85, 95%. The number, the exact percentages don't matter that much. And if you want details on that, obviously Haley can train you through, what your percentages should be and all of that. But I'm using this as an example because I will do maybe every 5 to 6 weeks, I will train to failure, where I actually do my 1 rep max, where I build myself up to that full max failure to see where I'm at. The following week after that, we cut everything to 50% or sometimes lower, depending on how my body's feeling. And you do a full week of active recovery where I'm doing really light. And in that week, you need to discipline your mind to be like, this feels like I'm doing nothing. But you're allowing your body to recover. You're not going fully stagnant where you're just sitting and doing nothing. You're walking, you're resting. So that would be, if you're like kind of stepping back and looking at a sustainability for long term, that would be when you're looking at your weeks of how you cycle through. Like Haley said, whether you're just going to cycle it in randomly and like be like, okay, I just want to see where I'm at. Or for myself, I like to cycle it in about every 6 weeks. Sometimes I can tell, I've been sick, I've been off, and I'm like, there's no point in me doing this. I haven't been regular enough to do it to failure, because I'm probably going to be at the same point I was last time. So being intuitive, we always talk about earning the right to be intuitive with your eating and your training. If you've been doing it long enough, you can kind of get that idea. The other thing, and you can touch on this too, Haley, the other thing I thought of when you were talking was when you talk about rest and recovery, your between sets matter so much, especially when you are lifting heavier weights, and especially if you're going to failure. If you have reps in reserve, you're like, okay, I could maybe rest for a minute and a half between sets. But if I'm going to failure, I'm resting for 3 to 5 minutes between my sets.
Yeah, exactly. And I also just wanted to clarify kind of your percentage wise. So what Emily was talking about is your perceived exertion. So perceived exertion is just how much, a 50% of your max failure, your max 1 rep max. So you'll cycle through 50% perceived exertion, 70, 80, 90, and then 100, obviously.
Yeah. You can do it with numbers too. If you know your 1 rep max, you can physically calculate, okay, if I normally lift, right?
Exactly. And then you take a deload week, which is just reducing inflammation and allowing your body to recover and everything like that, right?
You bet.
Sorry, what was your question?
Oh, so I just wanted to say the importance of resting between. So there's the importance of cycling in your deload, your active rest for your optimal muscle gains long term. But in your actual workout itself, so that you're not totally gassed later in the day or the next day, you need to have rest between sets.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Especially if you are doing your progressive overload via increasing the weight. So there's some clients of mine who have a limit on the weight that they have access to. And you can explore different variations of progressive overload. Either you reduce the rest time between sets. So if you're doing lighter weight, sometimes you achieve that progressive overload and that muscle stimulation by reducing the rest between sets. However, if you are increasing the weight, that is putting a lot of stress on your muscles, and that's how they build. However, you do have to take that rest time. So typically I'll do either a minute and a half to like 2 minutes, especially if they are really, really pushing the weight between sets, just to allow your body to come back to another set and give your full, 100% towards that set. Because what I found, and when I was overtraining and in that kind of season of my life, I would have zero rest time. I would like make everything into a hit class. Everything was go, 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 go. And what I found was each time I'd come back to the next set, I would be weaker and weaker and weaker. And that's not the point, right? It's to give your body some rest so you can come back to another set and give it your all and really stimulate that muscle.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Haley. Something that I've found too with those HIIT style workouts, I'm not saying you can't do them, but really wise for long term is if you only have so much time. So I've had times where I'm like, my body needs extra rest today. I'm going to sleep in even just 15 minutes. If I can get to the gym, but I only have a half hour at the gym, I'm picking my lifts, like my weights, over a HIIT workout. Like if you have to prioritize one or the other, you're going to get more bang for your buck with your lifting. And then when you're cycling in those HIIT style workouts, instead of being like, oh, okay, what you said, like burnout, overtraining, it's like I'm doing 45 minutes worth of HIIT type workout. Be like, no, you could do like a 10-minute finisher, a 12-minute finisher. If you just want to like really get your heart pumping, maybe 15 minutes. It's when you're going like that really high intensity and you're trying to do that every single day for, an hour. It's like, it's so taxing, like you said, on your immune system and on your, what else was I thinking? Your nervous system.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like we come from a past too. Like everyone feels like they need to sweat a ton in order for it to be a good workout. That's a very common thing that I hear where people just want to sweat, and that's why they turn everything into a HIIT workout. So when they do go into strength training, they're like, I'm not sweating as much as I used to when I was doing a bunch of cardio, so I'm going to ramp things up a bit. And that's not the point.
Yeah, it's the best hack ever. You sweat less, you get more gains, you feel better.
Yeah, exactly. And like you're not when you're strength training, you are kind of training your cardiovascular system too, but that's not the point of why you strength train. You strength train to build up your muscles, and then you can have HIIT workouts like you said, a finisher, or do 10 minutes on the bike or something, do some sprints or something as a finisher to work your cardiovascular system, right? So there's
And just if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm just going to use this as an example. If you're like, I love running, I don't want to give up my running, I love the runner's high. We're not saying you can't do activities you love. We're just saying if you're starting into this and you're trying to figure out, you just want to get healthy and fit, you just want to feel good in your body, this is the most optimal way to do it, to make optimal muscle gains. Yeah. Now, I have an episode way back. You can search back through the episodes. It's called The Joy of Running. And it's with a friend of mine who I went to chiropractic college with. And she is an expert in the biomechanics of running. And so she's a chiropractor plus a runner, and she specifically trains people how to run properly, how to cycle your running, and how to train for that. So I'm using that as an example of like with any activity that you're doing. And even when you talk to her, she's like, yeah, I've been cycling in more weight training because you still need that. So let's say you love running, you cycle in weight training, you go to someone like, her name's Dr. Brittany Moran. You can look back at the episode. You go to her or someone like her, and learn how to do it properly so that even if you want to keep doing that activity, you're not going to burn out and wreck your body doing it. That's the point of this.
Yeah. And I see it, especially with running, the form is so important because it's just such a redundant movement that the more you do it and the more volume you do, if you're in the wrong position in terms of your body mechanics, you are so susceptible to injury. So definitely go back and listen to that because it is very important if you do want to get into running. Everyone's into running now. Everyone and their dog is running right now. I do like it. I have kind of taken a step back of it, but the runner's high is great and I love it. Right. And I just love to, again, push myself to some other limit that I'm not really used to.
Yeah, that's great.
I injured myself because I went too hard too fast, and shame on me. But go back and watch that because it's very, very important that you do have the correct biomechanics, that you are moving in the proper motions.
And you cycle it properly, your lengths of times, your distances, your intensity, all of that. It's the same sort of principle. Yeah. And then get adjusted, right?
Yeah, exactly. You should.
Yeah. Come on, Haley.
And it's part of the recovery process. So you do need to spend money on it.
Yeah.
Spend your
Spend
insurance
money
on it.
or get insurance. Yeah, one or the other. Oh, that's great. No, that's really good though. I feel like just understanding and giving yourself permission. It's so funny because you might be listening to me like, okay, great. I'm going to learn all about muscle gains and tell me how to get the gains. And then the first thing we say is rest and recovery between sets and cycle in your deload week. And you're like, really? I want something that sounds more hardcore than that. Trust me, it's simpler than you think. Most of the time when you're getting to the point of burnout, you're probably overcomplicating it.
Yep. And it's not supposed to feel, you're not supposed to feel burnt out. I feel like also in this day and age too, I can relate a lot to this, but I was just addicted to movement and go. If I wasn't doing anything, then you're lazy. And I feel like that plays into training as well.
You're so lazy, Haley.
Yeah, I'm lazy if I'm resting 2 to 3 minutes between sets. So I got to make it into a hit workout and superset everything, which sometimes I do, but most of the time.
Supersets. Oh yeah, I got to throw in the supersets. Everyone, I throw in supersets when I'm short on time.
Yeah, they're useful, and again, different seasons of life and different seasons of training, of course. But it is very important to rest, and I feel like that needs to be drilled into our heads a little bit more.
And not compromising form. You alluded to that, where you're like, as soon as you compromise form, that's when you injure yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And ego lifting too.
I do that all the time.
Many people. I don't, because I have a home gym and like, who am I trying to impress? You know, the rat in the side of the corner? No.
I'm just trying to impress you on my Instagram stories, Haley. Come on.
Oh yeah. Your handstands always impress me, by the way.
Thanks.
I need to work on that. You need to send me some stuff to work on that. But
okay, I will.
Yeah, ego lifting as well. When you're compromising your form, when you're trying to impress everyone else in the gym, don't do it. Just no one's looking at you. Just lower your weights, keep good form, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, and the other thing is one thing you can do, I don't know, Haley, what do you do with your clients if you're remote? So obviously, if you're in person, you have a trainer in person, they can take you through that form, right? Mm-hmm. For you, do you do like videos or Zoom calls to help your clients with their form in their lift?
So in my onboarding week, I have a whole week of them hating me because they have to film themselves in the gym. Everyone hates me for it, but I'm like, it's for the greater good of your own body. So they do take videos of, so I have like initial assessments where it just goes over just body mechanics and how their body's moving, like overhead squats, and like I just look for muscle imbalances and where their form can be improved. So when I do make their program, they can go forward actually knowing how to perform the exercises. And so they'll send me videos, I'll go over them, give them feedback. And this is also a really, really great thing that I get to see as well, is where their muscles are tight or maybe weaker. So I can work in some recovery for them as well, right? So if there's a very common one where hip flexors are so tight. Everyone's hip flexors are so tight. Yeah. So that's a very common one.
From a lot of sitting. If you're doing your workouts at the gym, but then you're going right back to sitting.
Yeah, exactly. So then I can see that and we can work on some mobility in terms of your hip flexors. But
oh, wait, Haley, quick hack for that. Life hack. You're going to think it's weird. Haley, you won't think it weird, but the listeners are going to be like, you guys are so weird. It's fine. Literally squat, like sit in deep squat. If you've been sitting, I have times where I'm like working on my computer and I'm sitting, then I might tilt I don't have one of those standing desks. That's great if you do, but I will sometimes tilt my like screen back and stand for a bit. And then let's say I switch and I have to do something on my phone. I will just move over and literally sit in deep squat, and do a few things on my phone and then stand up. And it's like, oh yeah, baby, that feels good. Like our bodies are meant to sit in deep squat. Yeah. And if you can't deep squat, then it means you've lost your like primal innate ability to deep squat, which means you need to do it more, people. You need to do it more.
This is a really intrusive thought that I just had, but do you remember that squatty potty?
Yes. Squatty potty, come on, get your squats going.
Example. That's such a good example of that. You're supposed to sit and squat. So
you're supposed to poop and squat too. We're getting really like nitty gritty now, but that's actually true. I know. Your pelvis is supposed to be in that position. You're supposed to have babies in that position too.
Yeah. That's interesting.
It's amazing because it opens up. It allows your actual pelvic bones to be in the proper position and your sacrum to relax back. That's for
Okay.
like having babies or going to the bathroom. Isn't that so fascinating? And it
That is
changes
so
the angle of
fascinating.
your hip flexors.
Yeah, yeah. And it goes against, like, I see in so many movies too, like women giving birth and it's not in the right position.
I know. You need to be like on hands and knees in squat or even those birthing chairs. Now we're getting way off topic. But anyways,
Yeah.
I feel as though for our YouTube watchers, we should be probably sitting in squat while we record this episode.
Oh my gosh, our legs would be jacked.
Mine already are. No, I'm just kidding.
It's true.
Yours are
More
too.
jacked. Can you imagine? I can't imagine. It's
That's so
not
funny.
possible.
But there's many cultures still like today, right? Like different parts of the world where they just generally sit in squat more. And it's really, really good for you. So that's just my plug for
So if
squatting.
you're listening
And it's
to
going to
this,
help your squat with when you actually have a bar on because you can
yes,
go into the proper position easier.
exactly. There's that bum wink that everyone does.
Yeah,
Or
butt
like
wink.
ankle mobility and knee mobility. This is again where I see all the cats are out of the bag when they send me videos.
Oh yeah.
So we can work on that as well. Yeah.
I totally agree. You know what's funny, Haley, is when I started my Instagram account. Okay, I started my Instagram account probably like 2 years ago, maybe ish. And at the time, I was a lot more shy with the camera, being like, should I post this? Should I post that? I mean, occasionally, depending on my mood, I still get like that where I'm like, oh man, well, I don't know. But most of the time, what I learned is I just post my own gym videos. Do you know how much free training I've got? Because especially in the beginning, a trainer can't stand it. They look at your story and they're like, you should put your feet apart more. I'm like, oh, okay. Try putting your head down. Like look down when you're doing your bot, like, or look at 3/4 of the way out. Like I get, because like people can't stand it. They're like, oh, I need to correct her form. So in the beginning, I was like, dude, frig off. I'm just trying to put myself out there. Stop correcting my form. And then I realized, no. Okay, I need to see, like, is this person legitimate? Let me check their account. Oh, they seem like they know what they're doing. Oh yeah, I'm going to start doing that. So it's just funny because if you are willing to put yourself on video, you got lots of great advice.
You just gave me a really good idea for content.
Did you? Okay. I mean, did I? Sorry.
Yeah. I'm I can't expose it on
Oh, okay. Yeah.
on
Don't
the interweb just yet, but
go and check Haley's Instagram account within the next
probably got a
while.
lot of engagement when you did something wrong, and people love to comment on it because no one else has a freaking life, so they comment on things.
Okay, how about you take one of my videos. You can collab me.
Okay.
I'll do like an improper form.
Yeah, just absolutely absurd. Just absurd. Where it's to the point where like a newbie in the gym would know that you're not doing it right.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Hell yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so back on track though. We have a few more minutes. We want to make sure you have a full understanding of optimal muscle gains. We touched on training to failure. Anything else to say on that? We touched on reps and reserve. What are some of the other nuggets that are need to know for this topic?
Nuggets that are need to know for the topic. I believe that the biggest takeaways, honestly, like
Please be honest.
Personal opinion, I think that most and the majority of your training should be the reps and reserve. Just because you are limited to like injury risk, burnout, and things like that. So that is the majority of the training that I do prescribe to my clients. However, training to failure is a very fun thing to do sometimes and good to know your limit so you can stay within it. So go ahead, try it out in the gym. Make sure, I do have a very important, everyone listening ears on, okay?
Okay.
If you are going to train to failure, please know how to fail. Know what to do if the bar,
yes,
if you can't get out of the movement, train to fail. Okay. And then also have a safety bar up, any kind of safety or a spotter, things like that. Like if you are going to train to failure, make sure you know how to fail. That is a very big piece of advice.
Yes, that is huge. When you're learning, like when you're doing Olympic lifting, for example, those are more complicated lifts. It's like if you're snatching, you need to know that you can just step out from under the bar and let it drop behind you. You do not try to hang on to it and like crank your shoulders backwards. That's going to destroy them.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of injuries happen.
Gym fails. Just start Googling, like go on YouTube and and put in gym fails, and you'll see all the things you don't want to happen.
Exactly. So honestly, what if you do want to train to failure or push yourself that way? Like actually practice failing. I've done that in my gym.
Yeah.
Like just practice going out of the movement with the bar over my head or whichever movement that I'm in. Just practice that movement of, you know, if I did fail at this and I was stuck in a very weird position, no one was around, make sure that your body knows what to do in that situation.
Yes. And if again, same thing. Haley's your resource. It's like you, even if you're, I don't know, we haven't really talked about how all your systems work for how much a person would need to sign up for or whatever. But do you do even just like one-off classes or like a shorter amount of time just to teach someone through? Or do you do more of a long-term? What's your...
All of it is structured long term. So the minimum I have is 4 months. And the reason for that is one, because I loathe the 12-week programs. Nothing can really change in 12 weeks. So
I agree.
just feel really unethical just putting that into my product line. I don't feel comfortable selling somebody a 12-week program where I know that they're not going to get to where they want to be. It's probably going to be more 6 months to a year.
Totally.
And it's just because sustainability, you know, if you get to your goal fast, you're likely to leave it as just as fast or even faster. So the slower you go, the better it is. And change takes a lot of time. So I do have 4 month, 6 month, and I believe a 9 month program where I'll go through even if they have a question, say we've gone through the onboarding week and it's mid phase and they have a question about an exercise, they can always send me videos and stuff. So if they ever have questions, then I'm their resource, but I do that via video. It's not a quick fix. It's not a short-term thing. It is a commitment to make, but you know, if you are actually willing and wanting to go on a journey of health and actually build some muscle, it's going to take a long time, specifically for women as well, because we've got about like 1/10 of the testosterone that men do. So we put on, maybe if you're doing it properly and you're reverse dieting and you're feeding your body enough protein and calories in general, you can probably put on about 1 pound of muscle a month, which is not a lot. So it takes a long time.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like the other thing I was thinking as you were talking was oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I might have to clip this part out. Totally thought gone.
That happens to me.
What did you say?
Long-term goals, muscle, 1 pound of muscle per month.
So as you were talking, Haley, when you were saying this is not a quick fix, this also reminds me of the healing process, right? The same way you're training and you're wanting to make the muscle gains that you're hoping for, it's going to take a while. It's the same thing when people come into the chiropractic clinic and they're like, can you just crack me? And they just like crack me one time and fix all my problems. Dude, you've had this back pain for 20 years. You think it's going to go away in one adjustment? That does not work. You have to like retrain your joints and your nervous system. And this is just like the loosening up and unlocking all the rusty gears, let alone then starting to add in healthy lifestyle and proper movement patterns and training like we're talking about, right? This is a long-term healing, and we're not like sign you up for lifetime chiropractors, but even still, depending on what the injury is, it's like, dude, you got to give us at least 4 weeks.
Yeah.
At least minimum. And then we're going to reassess,
their quick
right?
fixes.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone loves their Ozempic. Everyone loves Ozempic.
Oh, I know. Everyone loves the quick fixes. So I feel like it's something to keep in mind is also how long have you had the problem or how long haven't you been training? So think about this. If I've been training for years and let's say something happens to me, I need a surgery and then I need to recover from surgery, however long that takes. Now let's say I've taken 4 months off. But I had a healthy, fit body before. Even though I took 4 months off, I'm going to make those gains back quicker than if you're like, I've never trained a day in my life.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that process is going to take longer. You're going to need to be patient with it and you're going to need to be committed. In order to do that, you don't want to burn out.
Exactly.
So I think this has been great. Haley, you're going to have to go soon. I feel like after listening to this episode, you should feel amped up to get yourself in the gym and do those reps in reserve.
That's the first time you've ever heard of that term. Don't even lie.
I never used that term, no. So it's like, what was the term again?
Those reps. At first you said reps and reserve, and I'm like,
in reserve.
I'm not going to correct her. It sounds the same.
Guys, I never use that term. I have a lifetime of training to failure that I'm unlearning.
It's kind
That's true in gymnastics, man. It's so repetition, right?
Yeah.
It's intense, and you pretty much leave every practice super sore. I have a lifetime of learning how to train in like soreness state. Again, we talked about this though on one of our other episodes. Which one was it?
The muscle.
Oh yeah, we talked about for losing how to lose fat sustainably. We talked about the differences. Like, are you training as an athlete for a specific sport, or are you training for optimal health and function? And that's going to look different. I mean, I think now sports and coaches, they're getting better at helping their athletes train sustainably long term, but it's still going to be at a much higher, more intense level. You can't get around that at that level.
Yeah, exactly. And the more you train, the more adapted your body becomes. So I know it's really easy to look at these athletes and be like, whoa, I can't believe they train so much and yada, yada, yada. They didn't go from being a couch potato to being a seasoned athlete. Like, they've built it over the years, and their body is primed to do that type of training. So I think that's also a very important factor to put in.
Yeah, totally. I agree. So, and it's all about goals, right? What are your goals for your training? And then you need to line up how you train with those goals.
Mm-hmm.
And Haley can help you do that because she knows the proper terms, apparently.
I also wanted to tell the listeners, I just got my first Frexy jacket in the mail yesterday, and words cannot express how excited I am to wear this. I'm going to wear it on my date on Saturday.
I am so pumped. Pictures, videos. You're going to be looking good. Yeah, because this is like look good, feel good. You're getting the full package here, people.
Yeah.
So
heck yeah.
Share this episode with a friend. Make sure you rate it and review it. Just give it a 5-star for sure. And in the meantime, be free, feel fresh, and live on fire.
Sweet. I love that. That was a really good